I've been thinking a lot lately about what I want my life to look like long term. And one of the goals has always been to retire early. And honestly, when I say retire early, it's not stopping work entirely because I think I would get bored after like the first 2 weeks of doing nothing. What I want is control over my time while I'm still young enough to move around, go on hikes, camp, do all the fun stuff I like to do. But the harsh truth is that most of us will be working a core job. Maybe that is a 9 to 5. And maybe it's a job we don't even like. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to have to work well past their 60s. And I'm here to speak it into existence and tell you guys that I am going to work my ass off now to build my dream life later. I am going to be able to retire early, and I am going to put my head down and work for it. And I'm going to walk you through the exact steps that I'm taking right now. Not tomorrow, not in 5 years, the steps that I'm taking right now to make this dream possible. The first thing that I'm doing right now is working as hard as I realistically can to increase my income because I'm very aware that at 27 years old, the two biggest assets that I have available to me are not just money, they're time and energy. And both of those are naturally going to decline as I get older and have more responsibilities, as I start a family, and everything else that eventually comes with life. So instead of wasting my time that I have in my 20s, I've made the decision to redirect that extra time that I have outside of my 9 to 5 job into building things that have a long term upside. Whether that's growing this YouTube channel, developing side hustles, and creating additional income streams that can eventually compound alongside my investments. And this is all being built while I'm already working a 6 figure engineering job, which from the outside looking in makes a lot of people think I'm doing too much. And I hear it all the time. People saying things like, bro, you're working too hard, or bro, you need to just relax, or just enjoy where you're at. And yeah, I understand where they're coming from. But at the same time, I also recognize that most of the people saying that do not share the same long term vision that I have when it comes to financial freedom and an early retirement. When you want a life that operates differently than the norm, you have to be willing to move differently than the norm. Let me say that again. When you want a life that operates differently than the norm, you have to be willing to move differently than the norm. And that for me means accepting that this chapter of my life is going to require a lot of focus, a lot of discipline, and a lot more sacrifice than what feels comfortable. Increasing my income right now does two major things. It gives me more money to invest and accelerate my early retirement, and it allows me to take risks and build valuable skills on the side that increase my long term earning potential, while many people around me are simply just living life. And there's nothing inherently wrong with coasting if that's the life someone wants, but it's important to be honest about the trade off that comes with it, because you can't realistically expect to live an above average lifestyle later on if you're only putting in average effort during the years that matter the most. The second thing that I'm doing right now is keeping my investment strategy as simple and as automated as possible. Because the more I've wanted to pursue early retirement, the more I've realized that complexity almost always increases the chances of worst investment returns. So instead of trying to build some overly engineered portfolio with 15 different ETFs and constant rebalancing, I've narrowed my focus down to a 3 ETF combination that aligns with my personal risk tolerance, my long term investment strategy, and the type of returns that I'm comfortable with having. Those ETFs are VU, SCHD, and SCHG. And I've stuck with that structure because it gives me exposure to broad market growth, dividend income, and large cap appreciation without requiring me to constantly micromanage my portfolio. Outside of that core allocation, I do diversify a bit into Bitcoin, and over time, I do plan on owning real estate through purchasing a home. So when I zoom out and look at my overall asset mix, I feel like I have enough diversification that works for me. The reason I value simplicity so much is because simple strategies are far easier to automate and stick with for decades, and that consistency matters in the long run. If I have to spend hours every week digging through individual company earnings calls, that would be time and mental bandwidth pulled away from producing YouTube content like this video, or advancing my engineering career, or building the income streams that are equally important to my early retirement plan. I've got enough priorities to focus on already, And I'd rather allocate my energy towards things that have scalable upside instead of trying to outsmart the market by picking individual stock winners. And of course, there will always be people in the comments saying that, oh, these three ETFs aren't real diversification, or that I need heavier international exposure, or that I could be structuring my allocation differently. And that's the reality of personal finance. It is personal to you. Everyone has different risk tolerances, different investment timelines, and different investment philosophies. And this allocation is what allows me to sleep well at night while staying aggressively invested during my wealth accumulation phase. If someone wants to run a 50-50 split between US and international markets, that's completely fine. Nobody's stopping you. But for me personally, I'm comfortable leaning heavier into the US equities right now. The third and final thing that I'm doing in my 20s to position myself for early retirement is making an effort to continue living below my means even as my income increases. Because I've realized that one of the biggest financial traps people fall in is rising expenses that scale alongside every raise, bonus, or promotion that people receive. It becomes incredibly tempting, especially when you start making good money, to immediately upgrade your lifestyle in visible ways. Upgrading the house, upgrading to the newer truck, booking more lavish trips, buying nicer everything. And while there's nothing inherently wrong about enjoying your money, I think it becomes dangerous when every increase in income automatically translates into a more expensive lifestyle. What I've been trying to practice instead is delayed gratification, where I allow my income to grow faster than my lifestyle for an extended period of time, because that gap between what I earn and what I spend is where the real acceleration happens towards financial freedom. If you can live below your means for 10 focused years, it can realistically buy you 2 or 3 decades where work becomes optional later in your life. And to me, that trade off is worth it. It might not be for you, but it is for me. While all this is being said, I don't view this as a formula where hard work alone automatically equals financial freedom. Because unfortunately, we know that's not true nowadays. You still need to build valuable, high income skills, and you need to develop an investment strategy that compounds for you and makes money while you sleep. And you need to be making consistent, sound financial decisions all along your journey. When I zoom out and look at everything I'm doing right now, working to increase my income, keeping my investment strategy simple and automated, building additional income streams, and consciously living below my means, what gives me confidence is all these steps moving in the right direction year after year after year. I do believe that if I keep stacking these good decisions over a long period of time, I'm going to reach a point where work shifts from being something I have to do into something that I get to choose to do. And that is when I hit the stage of true financial freedom. So that's all I had for this video. If you found this video helpful or you also have aspirations of an early retirement, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more personal finance content. I'll see you all in the next one.